What's up guys, my name is Robin and I make stuff, and today I'm painting a rooster. Again. If there was a bird just like hopping down the road, how would you know that it's a rooster? Well, probably because it's got a mohawk, right? I can relate with that. It's got that red comb thing on its head that makes it pretty recognizable as a rooster. It's also got the red, what they call wattle, not really sure why, underneath their beak. And then they've got the big tail feathers. Different than a hen. A hen has really short, stubby tail feathers. Not a whole lot going on the rooftop up there, if you know what I mean. I take my students on the journey of painting a rooster for a couple of reasons. One, they're bright and colorful. But the other fun thing about roosters is they have big, huge tail feathers. So it's fun to just do these big, long brush strokes. Roosters are fun to paint. We paint them black and white. We paint them in full color. There's so much you can do with a rooster. Today we're gonna paint them in full color. It's gonna be loose, fun. You're gonna love it. You can be scribbly, you can be sloppy. At the end of the day, all you really need to nail is those big feathers, the shape of the body, and the comb on the top. This is a two-part let's make stuff video. Is that what we're calling it? I don't know. I recently did this full color rooster in my in-person class here in Bellingham. Before we started painting the colored rooster, we did a really quick study on a black and white rooster following the principles of no tan. If you don't know what no tan is, there's a link and you can click it and learn all about no tan. You can also Google it. That's what I did. And here we are now. I'm telling you about no tan. It's great. Two parts. You can do the no tan exercise of the black and white rooster. It looks kind of like this. And you can also do the full color rooster, which is what we're doing today. If you love this video and love hanging out with me, I love that for us. Make sure you give it a like and subscribe to my channel if you haven't done so already. It's fun being here. You're gonna love it. All right, let's start painting this rooster. All right, we're gonna use 90-pound Arches watercolor paper. I use this with most of my beginning classes because it works really well and it's a high quality 100% cotton paper, but it's also inexpensive because it's their lightest weight paper. I did a quick line drawing of this rooster, just the basic shapes of things I need to remember. Don't get caught up in the details. That's not what this is about. Flip that paper over, rub some charcoal over where those lines are. I just use a really soft charcoal. Then flip it back over again, line it up on your watercolor paper, put a piece of tape at the top to secure it, and then with a pencil or a pen, just go over all of those lines, and that should transfer the charcoal to the watercolor paper. Once you remove the outline, if there are any lines missing or you need to put a few extra things in, you can lightly do that with a pencil. Don't go too dark. Nice and light, that's the key here. You want to get a sneak peek at the limited palette I use with my students? Here it is. Front and center, I have ultramarine blue and burnt sienna. The ultramarine blue is my blue primary, and then I have cadmium yellow for my yellow and alizarin crimson for my red. So I have red, yellow, blue, and then burnt sienna. For this painting, we're also going to use manganese blue. The Cotman lookalike would be cerulean blue hue. It's going to give a really nice turquoisey color to those big, bright tail feathers, and so we're adding that in. Also, I have phthalo blue. You can tell that one's never been touched, and I kind of stay away from it. It's a staining color, which means once you put it on the paper, it's there to stay. So I don't mess with it too often. I can get most of what I need from ultramarine blue and that manganese. I also have an organic vermilion on there and a yellow ochre, which I didn't talk about, and we're also not using in this painting. All right, check it out. Here's the rooster we're painting. You're gonna love it. We're gonna start out with its head and some very dark line work. And this line work you're either gonna love or you're gonna hate because it's really squiggly and real messy and really unplanned. I'm going to use a small round brush for this and kind of let the brush do a lot of the work for me. I'm not gonna think too hard about it. This is not about perfection. This is about just getting basic concepts and being a little messy. The whole goal of this is I want you guys to be messy to see that, hey, it doesn't have to be perfect. And at the end of the day, it turns out. So focus on the top line of the beak, focus on the shape of the head, maybe getting something in there for the eye, and then these little squiggles that kind of bring the viewer down into the neck. And then we'll put some water on there and let that do its thing. We're gonna make some black. I'm gonna mix up ultramarine blue and burnt sienna. They're kind of complementary colors, so they sort of cancel each other out, so to speak. And we want lots of paint in here. Lots of paint, but also enough water for it to glide across the surface of the paper without dry brushing. Dry brushing would be when you see all those little dots where the paint has skipped spots. We don't want that. We want it to feel almost like an ink or a pen drawing. So adding a little bit of water to my paint to get that movement in there, but making sure that I have enough paint and it's nice and dark. Notice I'm holding my paintbrush towards the end of the handle, not down by the bristles. That gives me a little more freedom to wiggle. And here we go. I'm just gonna put some paint around the top of the head, the top of the beak, a squiggle in there for the eye, coming down around the cheek, and some squiggles into the neck. That's it. If you have felt your heart rate go up, that means you're doing it right. Congratulations. I'm gonna put just a few more dabs of black in there just to give it a little bit more depth. And then I'm also going to add some water in here. So I want there to be a little bit more paint. I'm gonna put some clean water in here with my big round brush, just kind of dabbing it in there and letting the watercolor do its own thing. Release control, give it up. That's what this particular painting is all about. We want to see what the watercolor will do. I have an already painted version of this rooster that I'm going to put next to what I'm currently painting. So that way, as I'm going through, you can kind of see what I'm referencing. Yes, I'm looking at the actual photo, but at the same time, I'm really trying to simplify that photo into the painting that you see on the left. The first color I'm going to paint is the orange on this rooster that kind of takes place on his neck and up along his back. So to get orange, I take cadmium yellow and I mix it with the alizarin crimson. The alizarin crimson is pretty potent, so a little bit will go a long way. And as I say that, you can see exactly what happens when you use too much red. So now, in order to balance that out, I'm going to need some more yellow and probably also a little bit of water in there to lighten it up. If you find that you're mixing paint and it's too dark, you can always move some of that paint to the side and add some water to it to lighten it up. This is looking pretty good. It might be a little on the dark side, but I can always put that on my paper and then add some water to it on the paper to lighten it up even more. I also want to work pretty quickly because I want that black, for example, that I put down to kind of mix a little bit with this orange when I put that down. All right, how's your heart rate doing? Back to normal? Well, let's ramp it back up. I'm going in here now with the tip of my big round brush with that orange color and putting in some nice, very loose and candid brush strokes. That's exactly what we want. Notice that I left some white space in between. You want to do that too. This is not about being perfect. We're just slapping the color in there, putting it on the paper, and seeing what happens. Now clean your brush off and just tap some clean water droplets into that orange, just in a few spots. We want to create some pathways for that wet paint to move through. Now the last thing you want to do is take your paintbrush and start moving it around through the water that you just put on there. Just put the paintbrush down, okay? Let the watercolor do the work for you. It will take out all of the guesswork. Stop overworking it and being a control freak. I know you want to, but you don't need to. I give you permission to stop. The next color we're using is blue. Ultramarine blue, a tiny, tiny bit of burnt sienna, and that will just kind of tone that blue down from being super bright to a little more muted. I want this to be kind of on the lighter side, maybe like a milk consistency. So a little bit of water. I'm going to paint that into some of the orange area while the orange is still wet, and then following the shape of the bird's body. Notice all these dark areas, those go on at the very end. Don't be confused. I paint all this blue first and let it dry, and then we'll come back with all these dark little extra details at the end. I loaded up my brush with the blue paint and then using the tip of the round brush, starting where the wet orange is, creating these very short, almost rounded brush strokes following the shape of the bird's body. Because the orange is still wet, that creates some softening between the orange and the blue, which is awesome. I can clean my brush out and get some water and just kind of dab that into this blue area as well, and that will create some variation in the value of the paint. Because I rinsed my brush off to add the water, I want to make sure I go back and load it back up with that blue paint and continue following around the bottom shape of the bird's body. So where those feet come out and then along the bottom of the rooster butt. Is that a thing? I'm sure the chicken community will tell me. Once you're done painting that area, don't go back in and fuss with it. Let the water and the watercolor do the work for you. Next up are the tail feathers. This is my favorite part of roosters because it's so fun to do these big brush strokes. Here's how I create this color. Start with manganese blue, or in the world of Cotman, cerulean blue hue. Then add a little bit of cadmium yellow that jumps right into this seafoam color. Tone that down with some ultramarine blue that takes it into this peacock color. This is not a peacock, it's a rooster. We're going to know that it's a rooster because it has the red comb on its head. Make sure you have enough paint and enough water. These feathers are going to be painted quickly with lots of paint on your brush. Big, huge, thick brush strokes. So it needs to have, number one, a lot of paint, and number two, enough water so that these brush strokes glide quickly across the surface of your cold press or rough texture paper. Super important. Notice how the tail feathers fan up, away, and then around and down, kind of in this curved motion. That's also key. So starting at the butt, I'm just gonna make big, long brush strokes, loading up my paintbrush after every single brush stroke. And you can see at the end of those brush strokes, it starts to be a little on the dry brush side. That's okay. That's totally okay. What we don't want is for it to look like that the whole entire way through. That's why making sure that your brush is loaded is really important. Once I get halfway through with that peacock turquoise color, I'm gonna go back to my ultramarine blue, a little bit of burnt sienna, and finish out that tail with that blue color. The one feather that I want to nail is this one that curves down and to the ground. That one's pretty important. And then I can come in and do a few little tiny brush strokes around the bottom. Next up is the red. We're going to use the red for the comb on the top of the head, the wattle under the beak, and on the wing. So I'm mixing up just some alizarin crimson straight up. Nothing added to it except for some water, making sure that it will flow on my paper. In similar fashion to how we started this painting, we're going to do this crown a little wild and crazy. So let your brush just define the shape of the crown, sweeping kind of up and away around the top of the head, and that's literally all you have to do. Don't think too hard about it. With the wattle, we want that first brush stroke to define the bottom edge of the beak. So when you push that paintbrush to the paper, that's the bottom line of that beak. And then just sweep it down. That's it. Don't overcomplicate it. I'm going to load my brush up with some more of that red. And for this wing, we have these dark little brush strokes on top of the red color. So those will come later after everything's dried. Right now, we're just kind of loosely painting some red in there. And if you blinked, you missed it. That was literally all there was to it. We're going to tie in the scribbly head with these scribbly feet down below. If you've ever seen bird feet, they are so weird. So we're not going to think too hard about that either. We're just going to put some scribbly dark lines in there, and then we'll come in and kind of soften it up at the bottom with some clean water. Going back to our small round brush and that dark color we used in the beginning, making sure that it has enough water in it to move around loosely on the paper, holding my paintbrush loosely at the end of the handle, a couple of vertical lines here for the legs, and then some horizontal scribbles for the feet, talon things, whatever those are called. And that's pretty much it. Then clean off your big round brush, make sure it has some water on there, and we're just gonna drag it along the bottom of where those feet are while they're wet so that water pulls some of that paint, softens it up, basically tells the viewer, these are feet, don't look too closely. You just want to lightly glide that brush along the bottom of the feet so that you don't lose too much of the detail. Now before we dry this whole thing, I'm going to splatter some paint in the background just for some fun. Loading up my brush with that peacock turquoise, I'm going to bang it on my finger, and I'm not super worried about where these splatters are going because we're going to come back in with a bunch of darker brush strokes for some added detail and value. I'm not overly concerned if the splatters get on the orange or on the rooster's face. That doesn't bother me. If it bothers you, you can easily get a clean paper towel, place it over the areas that you don't want to have splatters go onto, and then splatter your little heart out. Once I'm done with that peacock turquoise, I get some of that ultramarine blue that I already have mixed on my palette and splatter some of that in here as well. Another fun thing that I like to do when I splatter is clean my brush off and get some pretty clean water and then splatter that clean water in as well. And that just adds a whole nother dimension to the values of the splatters that I'm putting on here. Guys, I pay attention to value all the way down to the splatters, and so should you. Now I dried off my whole painting so it's ready to go. Notice on the actual photo, there's all these little tiny feathers. So the way I accomplish that is to do tiny little brush strokes in a darker color over top of what I just painted. Similar to the neck, those are long skinny feathers. So I'm gonna do some longer skinny brush strokes on the neck. I'm using my smaller round brush. I'm gonna mix some burnt sienna with a little bit of the orange I had already been using. I can also come out from what I've already painted in a few extra brush strokes, leaving some white in between, and that will just make the body of this rooster a little bit bigger. But notice they're not filled in. It's just little brush strokes. So starting at the top, bringing those little tiny wispy brush strokes down, following the curve of the body, coming around outside of the body, giving the illusion that there are some feathers kind of fluffed out there and it's not just this smooth rooster. So same thing over here, coming around the back side of the back of the rooster, and now he looks a little fuller in there. I can put a few down here by the tail as well. You don't have to overdo it. Notice I'm not putting them everywhere. I've left some plain orange places, and you can do that too. I can use that same color to paint the beak, the face, and also the legs. So getting more of that burnt sienna with the orange, I paint the bottom part of the beak, just one little line, and plop some of that color into the face. We'll be back to mess with that in a second. And then I'm going to follow the lines of the legs and kind of just scribble some brown in here. Don't think too hard about it. Just put some color. Now clean my brush off, I come back in and lift a little bit and move a little bit of that paint. So some of it's lighter in certain areas and darker in other areas. I've mixed together some ultramarine blue with burnt sienna to create a little bit darker blue for these little chest feathers. These little feathers should follow the shape of the bird's body, so following that curve. That being said, you can totally paint some onto the white of the paper. You do not have to paint inside the lines on any of this bird. That's kind of the whole point. We're thinking outside the box here. And then I want to stop those little brush strokes where I get to the legs. Now I'm going to mix up some really dark color using ultramarine blue, burnt sienna. So this color that I'm mixing is significantly darker than the color I was using, which is this one right here, right below it. So you can see side by side which one is darker. And I want it to be super dark, about as dark as I can get it. If I'm referencing the actual photograph of this bird, there's dark color defining the shape of the wing. That's really important. There's also some really dark color defining the shape of the body, so the chest and around the bottom where the legs are and into the tail. So we're focusing on all of those pieces as we do this final dark layer. So little tiny brush strokes defining the curve of this wing and the shadow that it creates. And then we're going to add some dark brush strokes under the chest area of the bird. Those are going to come down into where the legs are. The leg area, like where the feathers are going to be pretty solid black, with those little brush strokes starting to spread out a little bit as they get closer to that wing. And then little tiny brush strokes along the bottom edge of this bird leading up to the tail. Just little wispy brush strokes. And then we'll add some dark brush strokes to the top of the tail. These feathers should go in this kind of fanning out motion, following the curve that we were talking about earlier, and then gradually becoming more straight up and down as we get to that turquoise color. Grabbing more of that dark paint, mixing more if I need it, and then starting at the bottom, pressing my paintbrush down, curving it around, and letting it taper off at the end by just lifting up. Getting plenty of paint on my brush, starting where I start, push it down, and then lift up to taper it off. Pressing down and curving it and lifting up. You can do a few tiny little skinny brush strokes in there just for the suggestion of some other feathers, but that's pretty much it. You want to leave the color in there, so you don't want to paint over everything. Last but not least, the dark red in the crown, the wattle, and the wing. So to make that color, I get alizarin crimson and a little bit of ultramarine blue and kind of make this mauve-y purple color, and that's all you need. It's just slightly darker. A few quick brush strokes in the wing. The keyword is a few. Don't go overboard. You want that red to still show through. Notice I still have white showing through. Also, the same goes for the comb on the top of the head. Few quick brush strokes along the ridge of the head, and then a couple of brush strokes underneath the base of the beak there. And that's really all there is to it. How did your rooster turn out? Mine turned out pretty bright, fun, and colorful, which is exactly what I was going for. I hope that yours did too. Thanks for hanging out. I'll see you next time that I make stuff.